Okay.
Uh-oh, Lyle's still on mute. You gotta unmute Lyle now, Matt.
Hey, Lyle, you need to unmute. I sent you a message.
I
There-
just
there we
did
go.
that, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Dr. Gable, thank you.
Cameron, you're on.
Okay. Okay, so I just sent out another reminder as well to people, but to introduce myself to those of you who I have not talked to, my name is Cameron. I am a current junior here at the University of Arizona. I am double majoring in accounting and management information systems through Eller, intending on potentially adding operations management as my third for next year. My position through Sigma Chi down here at U of A on our executive board is scholarship chair, which deals with anything from setting up events such as these, as well as working with Kevin Stama from the Educational Foundation for scholarships, as well as working with alumni from a PR sense. So just a wide range of different things along those lines, and just making sure that from our internal chapter down here at campus that we are all stabilized with our grades and academic integrity and whatnot. And we've definitely revamped that this semester with enforcing grades more heavily, so that once people are admitted to being initiated into the chapter, that we can ensure that there's definitely the resources from a school point of view, whether that be think taking different campus tutoring services along those lines. So that's pretty much what my position entails. And starting these speaker series off, heading into next semester, we are intending on them being related to different industries. So this one's obviously geared towards real estate, and then for future events along the lines of either healthcare, medicine, advertising, law, you name it. And just a good way of getting everyone on the same page as they're, both graduated or about to graduate, and have the opportunity to speak to those who have been in the professions for numerous years by now, and then just posting this so that people can watch it at their own time as well. So what I'd like to do first is to introduce our speakers here right now. Austin Victor's dad says he would be joining in a little, but currently we have Mike Beal, who is my father. He graduated in 1983, and we have Barry Gable as well. Mike is from Cushman and Wakefield, and Barry is from CB Richard Ellis. So if those two,
Greg just came in.
Greg is now here. Sorry, Greg, we're just doing a brief introduction, just introducing Mike, Barry, and you. And we're actually now turning it over to you guys first, and I'll be asking you guys questions just to speak on your experience throughout this. But if you could first start by introducing yourselves to us in whatever order you want to go in.
Okay. Do you want me to go first? All right.
That's fine.
So Barry, myself, and Greg are living proof that C students can succeed in this world. So we had a lot of fun down there at the U of A, but it was all good. But seriously, so I'm Mike Beal. I'm primarily an office leasing broker with Cushman & Wakefield. I've been at the firm for almost 35 years. So my core job is to either represent tenants in their quest for office space, or represent landlords in trying to secure tenants into their buildings. And we, upon occasion, provide leasing color and market info to guys like Barry Gable, who are selling those buildings. We also do some off-market sales ourselves, as well as some commercial land transactions, mostly on behalf of owners to investors or developers who want to build or construct office space. So my role really revolves around office buildings and office use. Barry?
Well, first of all, thanks for the invitation to be here. I really appreciate it. Cameron, good job on getting this organized. It's like, herding cats. We've had a bunch of Zoom calls ever since this pandemic, and I think you did an awesome job. So thank you for including me. I have been in the business for 37 years, and I'm with CBRE, and I sell office buildings. I have a team of 7, and I started off my career leasing space, but about 23 years ago, I transitioned into wanting to get into investment sales in the capital markets. So to Mike's point, I was not a straight A student, but I knew how to work. And I was raised in a family of with a dad that was a grinder, and subsequently, that's what it takes. I think in any career, candidly, but certainly in what we do, because you have no control of the outcome of the transaction. You control what you do and what you say and what you prepare, but you don't control the buyer and the seller actually doing what they're supposed to do, or the lender coming through, or the appraiser. And we can get into that in a minute, but it's a fun business. I get to work with Mike and his team, and we have on numerous occasions, and I don't know if you know this, but we're going to be working together again coming up here in the short order, which I'm just excited as heck to be working with you guys again. He's like a classy, good, excellent broker. So that's going to be fun. And Greg, I haven't seen you forever, and it makes my heart happy to see your face. So awesome.
Definitely. Thank you. I'm Gregory Victors, and I own a brokerage in Tempe, Arizona. It's a real estate residential brokerage, and we also represent a home builder. It's where we have 3 new home communities spread throughout metropolitan Phoenix. So I come from the builder world since 2001, where I was designated broker, sales manager for KB Home here in town, and then for another home builder that was owned by the Robeson family or whatever. So I've done the residential since 2001. I have over 2,026 closed transactions throughout metropolitan Phoenix. So
So if you guys need a loan, you go to Greg.
No, not a loan. Sorry, no, just brokerage. All brokerage.
Loans because you've sold a lot of deals. A lot of deals.
True. But I did start out though as a retail leasing person for 10 years, where I did retail leasing, and I have one tenant still around, the Improv Comedy Nightclub. I'm the guy who brought the Improv Comedy Nightclub here to metropolitan Phoenix.
So retail leasing is why you lost all your hair?
That is it. Yep.
Oh, wow.
That'll do it to you.
This is being recorded.
And some stepdaughters.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate all those introductions. And on that note, if the other attendees and participants here, both undergrads or graduates, could just briefly introduce themselves when either they've graduated or are about to graduate, and what their current majors are and what they plan on doing post-grad or going forward.
Hey, Cameron, what I'll do is I'll call out their names so everybody knows who to speak up. So why don't we start with Trent?
Yeah, sure. I'm Trent Waller. I graduated U of A 2019, majored in finance. Now I'm in my second year at ASU Law School. After I graduate, I plan on serving in the Air Force JAG Corps for a 4-year contract. And I'm excited to be here. I recognize the people on the panel and wanted to come see what I could learn and see what golden nuggets I could pick up from you all. So thank you for being here, and thank you for having me.
Thanks. Jax.
How's it going? My name is Jax Davies. I'm currently a junior at U of A, majoring in urban regional development and minoring in business administration and real estate. And then after I graduate, I would like to get into investment sales for commercial real estate. And also thank you for all of you guys coming here to speak today.
Nick.
Hello, my name is Nick Orbacero. I'm a junior here at the University of Arizona. I'm currently an economics major, plan on double minoring in marketing and possibly real estate or business administration, not really sure yet. But my dad was a commercial real estate broker, and he was just telling me about real estate. And so I decided to attend this panel just to learn more about it and to get to pick your guys' brains. Thank you.
John.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sean McDonald. I'm a freshman here at the University of Arizona. I'm recently initiated. I'm majoring in business administration. Majoring in business administration. I'm considering a major change to urban regional development. And I plan to minor in real estate as well.
Grant.
Hey guys, I'm Grant Neely. I'm a senior graduating in May, majoring in urban and regional development, and then getting a minor from Eller in entrepreneurship and innovation. And I'm currently actively interviewing for different brokerage positions, whether it's an intern or a research analyst position, and thankful to be here and listen to all you guys.
Great. Lyle.
Boy, this is the old guy here. Graduated at the University of Arizona 1964. Had a long career in real estate involving real estate limited partnerships. My wife was involved in investment banking, was very involved with Eastdil out of New York. At that time, one of our sons is a home builder, and the other one is involved in investment banking as well. So we've been primarily involved in income properties or residential. Background from coming right out of school, was basically doing a startup after getting an MBA. After 1 year at dear old Cal Berkeley, and subsequently have enjoyed a good real estate career for a long time.
Thanks, Lyle. Casey.
How's it going, guys? Just like Trent, graduated University of Arizona in 2019. Upon graduation, got a job at Colliers. So I'm working in research still at Colliers, been here for about a year. And in my time here, I've had the opportunity of learning all asset types from the investment world like you, Barry, to office, industrial. And with my focus right now, I've been kind of focused more towards the industrial side and excited to learn more about it. Meeting guys around the office. It's been nice coming back to the office since the whole pandemic started in March. So we've been used to doing these Zoom calls pretty much every week or so. But excited to meet you guys and see some input that you guys may have on the industry and Phoenix as well.
All right, Brett.
Hi, I'm Brett Schwarzlander, and like Sean said, I'm also recently initiated, and I'm majoring in pre-business. Not too sure, but I want to possibly go into business management with a possible minor in real estate, and that's about it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, by the way.
Back to you, Cameron.
What was that?
Back to you.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone being here. I actually remember this past semester when I was putting together a list of everyone's major and career interests. A lot of those closely aligned with each other. I think we have around like 65% of either business majors through Eller or urban and regional development kids all wanting to specialize in something similar after graduation. So that speaks for Sigma Chi as a whole, with it being very centered around networking and connections and just development that comes there with that. And so because I know that real estate is definitely an up and coming trend as it always has been, if the speakers could talk a little more about their field in real estate and any current trends that they see in either their company or just the industry as a whole.
Brother Bill, you gonna start this?
Yeah, we're kind of, the business is very, evolved. Back when I got into the business, it was what I would characterize as cowboy brokerage. Everybody was doing everything, whether it was office or sales or leasing, industrial. You kind of did whatever you could, and you just kind of got in the way. But what's changed in our industry over the years is that corporate America on the occupier side has gotten much more sophisticated and realized that they are in the real estate business by the fact that they have brick and mortar and they need to have a place to operate out of. And they're trying to leverage that because they're very focused on their margins. And beyond labor, real estate is a pretty big line item. It's a distant second, but second nonetheless to a company's labor rates. So that changed, and they demanded a lot more of the commercial real estate brokers in terms of their analytics and a much more consultative approach. So I think that continues to evolve, and really is kind of CBRE is the biggest in the world. Cushman and JLL are second and third. And so they're looking at that corporate services for a much steadier stream of income versus the brokerage that was done in the past. And then on the investment side, I think what's changed mostly in our business is that you used to have a local operator, investor, developer type that went out and secured some money, secured financing, and you never had conversations with their institutional capital partners. And now those guys have become much more involved in the day-to-day operations of the real estate, and Wall Street is much more active than they've ever been. And so what's happened is there's been a lot of fee compression that's happened to the brokerage business, both on the occupier side with them participating, as well as on the institutional side with kind of squeezing the brokers as well as the operating partners. But all that aside, it's still a terrific business. And I think Barry alluded to it, where you are effectively self-employed. And there's a lot of stability in that, even though we operate as 100% commission and we wake up every day, or I should say every year, starting at zero. There is something, I think you can take comfort in knowing that you're only relying upon yourself to kind of make it happen. And so it's, as Barry said, you got to work hard. There's drive and determination, self-discipline and sacrifice, but it comes with a lot of freedom by being self-employed. So that's what's beautiful about the business. And I don't think that changes, not in the near term. I think there's some discussion about having brokers kind of move to a salaried model, but I think that's in the future sometime from now. But you really have a lot of freedom and flexibility and kind of an entrepreneurial spirit that you get to implement every day. The one trend in my world is we're on this Zoom call right now. That's been our world for the last year, because right now everybody's really kind of uncertain in terms of what that looks like for going back to work. And that's the big buzzword in my world is what does remote work look like? Is that going to be a permanent thing? Or are people going to come back to the office? I fall in the camp that people are social creatures and they want to be around others and they have the ability to collaborate. There's mentoring. There's just to catch that vision that you don't get in a remote environment. But the verdict is still out. But I think what we're seeing is kind of things trending towards people wanting to get back to the office, and they want to be in something nice and cool and modern and techie because they want to have it be enticing for their people to come back to work. So we're kind of guys that are doing analytics. We've got to have a sales aspects to our lives. We've got to have, we've got to have a little bit of human psychology there. So you get to mix all that stuff together every day, and it's a fun industry to be in. You kind of eat what you kill, but you have a good time doing it. So I know I rambled on there, but I'll turn the mic over to Greg or Barry.
Do you want to go, Greg, or do you want me to stay with commercial side?
We'll switch it up into the residential world a little bit. So there's two parts. Those of you who are finance majors or economics, and then even the urban planners and everything. to get a position in with a home builder, you can do well. You could start out in the land department being a small person and move your way up pretty quick, because home builders appreciate the finance or economics or urban planning degrees. And even though home building seems like, oh, it's a big project, it's really just a giant math problem, okay? And it's a math problem that takes a 1 year or 2 year or 3 year or 5 year or 10-year cycle, depending upon the size of the neighborhood, the size of the community. And that's all they're looking at it. I know one gentleman who he started at KB Home in the land department. He was just the young guy. He moved up quickly through there. He went to Pulte. He moved through Pulte, and then he became the president of a home building company here in town. And he's been the president now for the past 11 or 12 years. So you could really just jump in, and they are hungry for that type of degree, because, you know, there's a lot of people who have a marketing degree and they're working in the marketing department. But if it's just one giant math problem. So if you're really good at the math, if you're good at presenting, just exactly what Mike said, the analytics, the numbers, the demographics, the trends, and you can put it all into a package, and you can put it into a spreadsheet, and you can make a nice presentation, you can speak well, you're going to go far. You could start out at entry level in a home builder, and there's all kinds of entry level positions, and they're going to grab you and just move you right through the process. And you're going to find yourself with a good career, a good longevity, decent salaries along the way, and, you know, other things. And then if you could get up into the vice president, president, things like that, you'll find all kinds of neat packages and things. Then there's the residential real estate broker. Okay. Being a residential real estate broker, having a degree will help you market yourself and package yourself in a different way. But you don't even need a degree to be a residential real estate broker. You need a real estate license. You need to have a good work ethic. You got to realize you're going to work 7 days a week. You're going to work 48 hours a day, possibly. You know, it's what it takes. All of my agents last year that made over $100,000 this year are working twice as hard to make the same amount of money. And I have groups of agents that they're making more, but they're having to work 3 times as hard as they did last year to make more money than they did last year. Okay, so it's self-motivation. It's there's no one beating you to come to work, to go to work. You got to look at yourself. You got to exercise. This is why I'm in a t-shirt. I was just on my Peloton and riding the Peloton earlier, and sorry, I had to jump off and get on the call. You gotta stay in shape. You gotta stay with it. You gotta do everything, and you can take all that you want to do as a residential real estate broker and be your own person. Okay, and you could do well with it. You could also get in sales with a builder. You know, being in a home builder right now, the builders have the land, the builders have the inventory, the builders have the houses. That's who's making the sales. In my new home section, every single one of my salespeople are making $175,000 to $375,000. They're doing really well. Now, granted, it's not always like that in home building, but if you're in a community that's selling at least 8 homes a month, you're going to do pretty well, and you could be a salesperson. However, when you work at a new home sales community, you are at that location from 8 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night and other times, and you're there 5 days a week, and you're there every single weekend. So you got to, once again, realize what's important to you, what you want to do, and you can step in and do it. So sorry, that's 2 different aspects on the residential real estate being either working with home builders for a home builder, selling for a home builder, or being a independent real estate agent.
Nicely done.
So as it relates to the capital market side of the business, I think what's some of the most challenging aspects right now, given where we are, not only in our cycle, but certainly with the pandemic, is that there is a disconnect to some extent between what I like to say the expectation of a seller and the desire of a buyer. And what I mean by that is you have an expectation of a seller for a price here, but given what's going on in the market, the uncertainty if tenants are coming back, if they're coming back in totality, if they're coming back with a third of their obligated space, what's happening with parking revenue. There's just so many factors that you can take into consideration right now as it relates to how people are going to get back to some form of normalcy, that the expectation of the seller is here, but the desire of the buyer is here. And our job, with the help of people like Mike, from a leasing perspective, to encourage these individuals that are underwriting the property and putting in their models what rent will be and what tenant improvements will be and what retention will be and what parking income will be and the like. And it's a big formula. And our job is to get the expectation and the desire to a strike where the deal actually sells. So the challenge right now is not the abundance of capital. The capital is flowing here from abroad and domestic. So it's not, there's not a lack of capital, there's not a lack of equity, and nor is there a lack of debt. What happened at the beginning of COVID is the banks, life insurance companies, and even the CMBS market really shut down and put everything in a hold pattern. And so there was no trading, there were no sales. It was very little activity because investors want to leverage or put debt on a property, particularly when the financing is so aggressive today, where it is. I mean, Lyle can tell you, and so can Mike, and so can Greg. When I started in the business in 1984, interest rates were 18%. Okay, and today, I just saw a quote for 2.8%, 30-year AM, 5 years interest only, which doesn't mean a whole lot to you guys, but to Lyle and to Mike and to Greg, it means a lot because that provides traction and opportunity to transact. So it's an exciting time right now. Our team has been super blessed. We really have been for decades of really, I never really understood what my parents told me until I saw it in action. And it's all about your reputation, period. It's all about being accountable. If I'm going to say I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. If I'm going to get that report out, I'm going to get the report out. You got to do it. You just have to be accountable. And you have to be value-centric. And I will tell you, not to get corny and not to look back, in my experiences of Sigma Chi, but I got to tell you, the Jordan Standard is all about it. I mean, live your life that way, you guys. You will escalate in whatever career you decide to do. Because of the truth of the matter, there's a lot of people that don't do that. Yeah. And if you do that, like Greg said, you're going to be lifted up through a corporation, through a business, through an entrepreneurial opportunity, and you're going to do really well. I was at an event. This was right as COVID was starting to, escalate, and there were probably 300 people there. And there was a question asked, How many people in this room would like to live or work somewhere else other than Arizona? Not one hand went up. We are so fortunate to live where we do. Some of you may not live here. You may go to another city, another state with a job. You might be in love and you're moving to chase some gal. But the point is, we're blessed to live here. We are. And people are flooding here by the droves because of our taxation, because of our cost of living, because of our weather, because of opportunity, because of diversification of industry, infrastructure. This is a great place. And real estate, whether it be residential or commercial, is a fabulous career. Fabulous career. I have met some of the greatest people ever. I have made friendships like I have with all my fraternity brothers, for sure, with clients. Just solid people. So I think you guys ought to be excited. Those of you that have already graduated, those of you that are freshmen, those of you in between, you should really be excited about this opportunity because our economy is going to take off. I'm just telling you. There's no question about it. The pent-up demand to place capital and diversify holdings is never been better, in my opinion. Our phone is ringing off the hook. We've got about $400 million worth of deals right now that I didn't have 90 days ago. That's how fast things are just starting to turn. So hold on and have some fun.
Yeah, I just want to echo something that Barry said. There's a book called Outliers. I don't know if anybody's read that book by Malcolm Gladwell, and he talks about stories of success. And it's not really. I agree wholeheartedly with Barry's comment about reputation because it can take many years and decades to build up your reputation, but only takes one action to tear that reputation down. And we've seen that in the news with celebrities and politicians that make a bad choice and they're done. And I think that's true in business because this is a highly competitive business that we're in Phoenix. There's a lot of guys just like me and guys out there that are just like Barry. And that's what sets you apart is that reputation. But jumping back to Malcolm Gladwell in the book Outliers, it's one of my favorite books, probably one of the only ones I've read twice. And he talks about that success is more than just about all of those things kind of embodied, like Barry said, in the Jordan Standard. It matters where you live, maybe the year that you were born. And one of the things that I say is like, I'm a good broker. I do my best and I work hard. But if I was in, hopefully nobody's from Kalamazoo, Michigan, but if I was from Kalamazoo, Michigan, I probably wouldn't have the career that I have now. And that's because Kalamazoo doesn't have 100,000 people moving into that community every year where there's demand for all of the different product sectors, whether it's office, industrial, retail, residential homes. And so, look at those kinds of trends. It's more beyond just what your profession and skill set is. It matters where you live. And obviously, having family support is huge, especially as your seasons of life change with kids and family and having a network of relationships. Phoenix is fortunate in a lot of ways that you can come here from outside of the Phoenix area and plug right in and be successful. But having long-term relationships, whether they're with your fraternity brothers or your high school friends or people within your community, are very important to foster and nurture and maintain. And that's a big part of why you're successful, because we go to these industry events, whether there's NAIOP, which is the National Association of Office and Industrial Properties, or Urban Land Institute. Those are two of the biggest industry organizations that are active in the Phoenix area. And you go there and you realize that there's a limited number of clients, but there's a lot of guys just like you. So what sets you apart? And part of that is your work ethic and your reputation. So keep that in mind.
I'd like to follow Mike just real quick. And I cannot remember the author, but there's a book called The First 90 Days, and it's all about how you should act in your first 90 days on the job. And it comes from two angles. It comes from the company and what they should do to bring employees on, and vice versa, what you as an employee can do. It's worth any of you young guys taking a look at it, because a lot of your future gets dictated right away by how you transition into the company you go to work for. If you fail in that first 30 to 60 days and they don't see work ethic or anything else, you know, it's going to impact you for a while.
Guys, the easy thing in life is to say no. That's simple. The hard thing is to say yes. And if there's any advice I can give you, find a way to say yes. Find a way to say yes to a boss, yes to a parent, yes to a girlfriend, yes to a friend, yes to somebody in need. Because when you say yes, you're putting yourself out there, and you're becoming accountable, and you're becoming reliable, and you're becoming trustworthy, and you're becoming somebody that somebody wants to be around. But when you say no, you're never having the opportunity to learn anything, show what you're capable of, and you're going to be overlooked. So find a way to say yes. I've taught my kids, find a way to say yes. And I think the older guys on this call know exactly what I'm saying. You know, Lyle never says no. I mean, he really doesn't. I'm telling you from my heart, never says no. We need somebody to help raise money for the house. Yes. We need somebody to run this committee. Yes. We need you here, Lyle. You got to come to California or to Arizona. Yes. I mean, that's just the way he is. And he's remarkably successful, you guys. And it's undeniable. So I don't want to beat it into your brains, but I'm going to say it again. We'll all say it together. Say
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Those of you that said that, you're hired.
You know, the other thing I'll say is that in one of Gladwell's books, he talks about 10,000 hours, which is, you know, 5 years of your life to kind of perfect your craft. And I know that when I got out of U of A in '83, probably one of the most difficult years of my life was 25, because I just had this expectation that things were going to be easier. I was going to have this big salary. I got my college degree. I went to the U of A, and it's not easy. And it took 5 years for me to kind of figure out how to make a living in commercial real estate. And it was, you know, I was living pretty in a pretty modest life. You made $1,000 a month for 6 months, and it was 100% commission thereafter. So, you know, my entertainment was going to go on hikes and bike rides, because I didn't have any money to go to a movie or go out to dinner. So it takes 5 years on something like this to kind of perfect your craft, to kind of learn the language, kind of see how it's structured, you know, see who the movers and shakers are, trying to align yourself with people that you can learn from. And I think our business is key to find a team like Barry's, or any other team, because that's kind of the nature of our world. There's the days of the independent bounty hunters are over, and you got to be on a team, and there's a lot of mentoring that goes on, and just take as much in as you can, and you'll learn a lot.
Cameron, you want to go on to the next question?
Yeah, I was going to go off that, and I agree from, you know, growing up in a household through my dad, Mike, just knowing all that goes into getting to where, you know, you are later in life, and how it is about like following the trends, and like how career paths could change along the way. I know for me personally, although my interest lies in another industry, there's nothing wrong with that. People's interests do change over time, which is completely okay. For me, it is, whether it be internal auditing or data analytics, there is a lot of overlap between businesses and the different departments. So like either way, you're going to be dealing with some different sectors one way or another. And I think that's always interesting, knowing what interest people had back in their college years, and then how it got them to where they are today. So like kind of going off that, if you guys could just generally just discuss your career path from college to where you are now, and any advice you would have on networking that allowed you to kind of ultimately accept and land those different opportunities.
I just hung out at Dirtbags.
That's where Barry perfected his
But the
craft.
video I saw of Dirtbags this last weekend that one of my employees showed me, a lot of people hung out at Dirtbags this weekend.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Mike, you and I remember when they first opened.
Yeah, beer and a watermelon for $1.
Yep. That's a good question, Cameron. You know, as I said earlier, my dad was a grinder. He was just a hardworking guy. And we had a family business, manufacturing. And when I was a freshman in college, my dad died unexpectedly. And I thought I was going to be heading into our family business and having the blessing to work with my dad and my brother. But that suddenly changed. And I had to really figure things out because that mentor, that guy, wasn't there. And my brother was 10 years older than I was. So I was 18. My brother's 28. And he's thrown into a situation of selling our business. And my parents had been married 30 years. And it was just a tough time. And so I didn't really know what I was going to do. But my brother got into commercial real estate, and I would come home in the summers and I'd work with him, and I'd come home for Christmas break and other breaks, and I'd just hang out with him and shadow and be kind of an intern. And I really liked it a lot. And I just went out and interviewed with every company I possibly could. I had a 1974 green Volkswagen. Mike remembers it. I had a hole about this big in the floorboard of the passenger's side, and I would hide it around the corner on my interviews because I was like, oh my God, they're not going to hire some guy that, you know, has a green, and it was green, by the way, which horrible. But I was really fortunate. There was a guy that saw something in me. He put his arm around me and really led me through the business, and, you know, really changed my life and positioned me into other opportunities to eventually become a partner at Trammell Crow Company. We sold our company to CBRE, and I started with nothing, but I had great fundamentals, great people to admire and look up to, people that I wanted to resonate from and learn from. And, you know, it really changed me. So I was a guy that was kind of on a path of being in manufacturing, and one day, you know, everything changed. So I don't want you guys to walk away from this panel, this discussion, and think that real estate is a scary thing, because it really isn't. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to work hard anywhere. That's a given, no matter what. And you're going to have to make sacrifices too, where your buddies are all going out having a great time, or there's some cute girl that you'd love to go to dinner with, but you've got to get a report done because the group you're working for needs it in the morning. Got to make the sacrifice and do it. And so I don't want you guys to walk away from here going, oh my God, commercial real estate or residential, it sounds like an absolute grind. You don't make money for 5 years, and I don't want to do it. Because that's not always the case. Yes, you have to work hard. Yes, it's a grind. And yes, it's going to take some time. But if you're fortunate, like Barry Gable was, to get on with someone that cares about you, that wants you to do well, that gives you the time, that answers your questions, that brings you to meetings, you're going to do great. That's the key. And it was like when you all made your decision to join Sigma Chi, you went to the other houses. You know, I don't know if Fiji was even open when you all, joined Sigma Chi, but I went to Fiji, I went to SIGAP, SAE was booted off campus, went to Sigma Nu, and went to Sigma Chi. And I felt Sigma Chi was for me. Well, take that lesson and use it as you explore your opportunities in business and align yourselves with people like you've done already at Sigma Chi. Just do that again, and you'll get in with the right group.
Definitely.
Good answer.
Definitely.
Greg?
Goodness. So I went off path for a little bit. I came around. I was down there at the U of A, and I had more fun than I should have. My dad sat me down after I got the letter from the U of A saying I'd be suspended for a semester. And he sat me down and he goes, well, Greg, you get to go anywhere you want. You go to Europe if you want to, you go to college if you want to, but you're paying for it. And that pulled my head around. that became my inner drive. And I did well enough that I came back to the U of A. That's when I joined the Sigma Chi and everything, except for they always, at the U of A, they held me down a little bit because they averaged that first year where I did really bad. So I left and I went to a different college. And in doing so, I studied real estate and land use economics. Got out, got a job with a developer. I went through the phase of working for a developer, getting paid, and not really following my bills so much, where the developer then went, what Barry was talking about, in the late 80s, where the market kind of crashed, and I didn't set myself up too much leverage. And all of a sudden I had no income. The developer was not around to pay. And we were doing commercial spaces. I was a superintendent for apartment complexes. I was, all kinds of things. I was helping them get the zoning plan. I was doing everything. So then I went into leasing, and I did the leasing thing for 10 years, retail leasing, and did lots of shopping centers around this valley, wore down many leather shoes, walking shopping centers. This is before the internet, guys, sorry. So you went and met the tenants door to door, face to face. It's how you did it. I'm sure Barry and Mike did the same thing, because it was door to door, face to face. It's what it was, okay? So that gift of gab is important. You guys build up that gift of gab. Whatever sales experiences you could pick up, do those. If get into those uncomfortable situations where you're face to face with someone where you got to make a sale, and understand that process. Those are important things, fun things. Then I went into, I was good at marketing. So I did all the marketing for homestore.com, which owns realtor.com. And from there, boom, left, got hired on by KB Home here in town to run KB Home, right in a great run from 2001 through 2008. Right then the market crashes, of course, and switch into another home builder. But even in the downside of 2008 and 2009, I was selling new homes in a community in South Phoenix. And I'm selling new homes at $100,000 when everybody else could buy all around me in Laveen $50,000, $75,000 for a resale home. And yet I still had to make the sales. I made the sales. I kept life going. It's what you do. It's why you do it and everything. So you could do a lot of twists and turns in the real estate. I'm someone who's always wanted to be in real estate. When I first started U of A, I did architecture and engineering, but I partied too much. So it was a change. It was a change. It took me a while. Thank goodness both my children do not follow my path. They're both very good students. Thank goodness.
Hey, I'm going to follow up on one of the questions. Cameron could ask this too, but I'm just going to follow up. So there are a lot of students at U of A, I mean, not just counting Sigma Chi, but across the board, that are trying to get their resumes or their LinkedIns in front of guys like you. You know, what gets any of these students an interview with you? And when they walk into the interview, what gets them from an interview to an internship or a job?
Well, I'll just speak for myself. So know that I think there's a lot of young people out there that are used to operating on social media platforms, whether it's Snapchat or whatever. And for a lot of the people that are in those decisions to bring on a young talent, they're not typically on those platforms. And so what I have more respect for anything else is when somebody calls me, because what that tells me is they have, because there's something intimidating about calling somebody with some title or who's older than you by 15, 20, 30 years. And if they have the courage to call you, because that's one of the biggest challenges in our industry, is you got to pick up the phone or you got to set up a meeting and you got to go meet with them face to face. And sometimes you just don't know how to approach it. You're kind of nervous about it. And cold calling, as Greg and Barry were talking to, it can be terrifying. So if some young person is willing to pick up the phone and call me or show up at my office, they immediately have my attention, much more than a text or any sort of email or anything else, because that's what it really takes. Right? I think people gravitate towards those interpersonal relationships, and I think that's a key part of it, just to get to the interview. And then the interview is a whole nother conversation about what to wear and how to act and doing your research on the firm or the person you're meeting with, etc. But to get that interview, pick up the phone and call somebody or show up at their office. That's what'll get their attention.
That's really well said. That's really, I'm sorry, Matt.
No, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask. Did anybody else have any?
I was just going to echo that. I mean, I think that's number one. I think you need to do that for sure. But I will tell you, there are three things that I look for, and I like putting people in jobs. It's something that I love to do, and I love to help young people, and I'll help you guys as well. Number one, if you have exceptional grades, I'm going to look at that, because that shows me that you're determined, you're committed, you're responsible. If you have okay grades, not great grades, because I did not, but I worked. I was a waiter and a bartender in college at the El Conquistador Resort. You guys, I think it's still there. So I was working, but I was also going to school full time. If I see on someone's resume that they've worked during school, I'll hire them without question. If I see somebody, this is the third one. If I see a guy, and we're talking just guys at this moment, and they have their Eagle from Scouts, they have their Eagle, I'll hire them. Or I'll darn well help them get a job. And what are all three of those? What do all three of those have in common?
High ambition.
High ambition, work ethic. What else?
Commitment.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, they're determined. They're accountable. They say they're going to do it, and they do it, and that's what it takes. And guys, it's that way for every career, everyone. Trent is in law school. Good for you, and thank you for serving our country as well. I think that's what you said you were going to be doing.
Yeah, yes, sir.
God bless you, buddy. Thank you for doing that. It's for any career, any. And you know, here I am beating it in your brains again, but if you guys will just listen to that, be a good guy.
So we had that reminds me.
Walk the
Barry.
line, walk it straight, have fun, but do it in a respectable manner.
And you know, guys, I would follow up to the opposite of what Barry is saying is the negative side of it. If a resume came across my desk, and let's just say I saw Sigma Chi on it, and I don't ever see any committee involvement, I don't see any campus involvement. I see, you know, maybe a three student, no work experience, etc. I think I see party boy. I see guy that's had a good time in college, but has not really had to work at his job. So particularly, I mean, this may not apply to Jax, he's a senior, but you freshmen, you're on a path right now. Your freshman year, get good grades. Your sophomore year, get engaged in the chapter, get engaged on campus, start looking for internships for that summer. Junior year, land the right internship, and then you'll have your offer going into your senior year. It's a path, but if you neglect the grades during your freshman year, as Greg talked about earlier, you can never catch up sometimes with your GPA. And some companies don't even look at you unless you're a 3.5 student or a 3.0 student, depending on the company.
I'll tell you the other thing is in our business, pedigree doesn't really matter. There's been some sons of prominent business people, whether they're attorneys or other business people in town that have tried to get in our business and kind of played the pedigree card. That might get you in the door, but that doesn't necessarily mean it makes you successful. And you know, like Barry said, it's about the work ethic and the drive and ambition and being engaging with people. And there's guys there's two guys I want to just share their names. One is Will Strong in our office, who is our industrial capital markets. He's probably the hottest industrial broker in the Phoenix area right now. He's probably in his mid 30s, early 30s. Father was a tradesman, and he worked at a bar when he went to, while he was trying to get in, paid himself through college, and then continued to work in a bar while he got into the commercial real estate business. And, you know, he was very engaging and has a good time and works his butt off. And then Ryan Bartos, who's probably one of the best young tenant rep brokers over at JLL, was a guy that used to be at Cushman & Wakefield. He used to sell the stuff for like janitorial supplies, like the urinal cakes that go on the bottom of a urinal. But that guy had such a great personality. I'm like, if that guy can sell that, he can sell real estate. We have guys in our industry that are recovering attorneys, is what I call them. They just decided they didn't want to practice law. We have guys that were pre-med students. I mean, for me, I got in the business because I was at the Phoenix Open and I looked over and there were some guys that were having a really good time. They were laughing, yucking it up with one another, and they're getting in their cars and their BMWs and Mercedes. And I'm like, what do those guys do? I want to do that. So that's how I got in. Now I started out in property management, and then for Steve Schuyler, as a matter of fact, our president. And then I made myself come back up to Phoenix to get involved in brokerage. So just to emphasize what Barry said, it's a grind, but you gotta, it's a lot of fun too. We have a lot of characters and personalities in our business, and it can be a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work, but you know, it's very, very rewarding. And those people that do it, they usually enjoy a lot of success because they have the passion for it. And you know, that's the other thing, is you got to love what you do. And if you don't love it, it's okay. Find something that you do love. And so Cameron's example, you know, he's on a path for MIS and accounting. It's not my path, but that's his. If that's what he loves, then if you love it, you'll be good at it. And that's the Ellen Duckworth grit book that people have talked about in terms of having that passion and becoming that expert. So,
by the way, following up that, you know, I always spoke to my chapter, and I always would said, successful people outwork others, and it's hard to outwork others if you don't like what you're doing. You got to find what you're passionate about and then go down that path. But hey, Cameron, why don't you ask the last question, which might be interesting because it's going to make these guys go back to college here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna touch on that last before we open it for questions. But if each of you, let's say you had to go back to school today, like what would you have done differently just to kind of help us out and gain more perspective on
it? How much time do you have?
However long you want.
Go ahead, Brother Bill. You start off at Greg, and then I'll finish.
I'm struggling with this one. You know, I don't know. I think the one, you know, I started out as an engineering student and then went into like, I think I want to be a dentist because my dad was a dentist, and maybe I want to be an architect. And I just kind of landed in the business college because I figured, hey, you know, once I do that, I can kind of open it up to a lot of different things. I probably wouldn't trade that. I probably would stay in the business college because that's what I know. But at the time, you're really focused on, you know, what are some of those things where I can have a successful career? What's that trend? And all that's well and good, but I still think it gets back to, you know, what you love. And I'm not sure that I would do a whole lot different. You know, then I think if I look at my career, I probably would do things a little bit different, which would be to align myself with higher net worth people to, you know, because they're connectors and influencers, but that's more of a self-serving kind of, you know, statement that you want to use to kind of, you know, expand your business. But from a college perspective, I don't know that I would change a lot that I would make much changes. I was pretty comfortable where I was at.
Great.
All right. Excellent. For myself, I would study finance in college. Definitely. I would, if I went back, even if I wanted to do some architecture or engineering or something on the side. Also, the career in data mining is absolutely amazing. And like what Mike talked about, how they're presenting numbers and understanding analytics and taking massive data and putting it into a useful form, being able to do those things, or how to run other people to do those things and help the team do it and be able to understand are tremendous. But something else that in one of the questions, and I apologize that we didn't hit on it, was networking. And the idea of networking and being of service to other people is a tremendous, tremendous skill. And something I would do more in college that I would have done was to be more of service to other people. And whether that's in clubs or groups or even, you know, if you're Christian, it's Bible studies or it's other types of studies, whatever it is, to get into these groups and really get to know some amazing people who are in these groups and where you are in service to other people. And it could be, even if you're just going to a underprivileged place to read to kids, you're going to get to know some neat people that you're going to use later on. There are people of wealth who like to fund different organizations or events that are out there. And if you're someone and you're volunteering, you're helping, or you're even part of a club or a group, that networking, you're going to find it tremendous in unknown ways in your future. Okay, it'll be, and especially if it's in a path or an idea or a hobby that you really love, whether it be music, whether it be about horse, whether it be about land, whether it be whatever it is, the networking thing, I didn't take advantage of that in college. Even joining it as a college person, you could get into a networking group or a chamber of commerce and just get to know business owners. Business owners are people who, in our beginning, I know Mike, I know Barry, business owners were our keys. They were the people that we were trying to meet all the time. And if I was already in a group where I knew some business owners, wow, that would have been really neat. When I first got in here, I did get into a neat men's Bible study. It was up in McCormick Ranch, and I met some tremendous, tremendous people. G. Gordon Liddy was in it. Joe Foss was in it. All kinds of amazing men who had fought in the World War II and done different things. And it was an honor to get to know those people. And because of that, I sold Joe Foss's buildings in downtown Scottsdale, when he had them. It was because of that, but I didn't do that till I was well out of college. If I could have gotten a foothold to learn more when I was in college and find some groups where you can network, and then Barry doesn't bring it up, but something that Barry Gable is tremendous at is saying thank you to people that he's around. Whether it be, he does it in so many eloquent ways, he would have to explain it, but he is incredible at doing that and carrying on relationships with people for long periods of time through cards or through notes or through phone calls or through whatever it is, and carrying on those relationships of those people you meet, saying thank you, giving them a real written note when they have a birthday or something and they get a birthday card in the mail. I don't carry business cards currently. I don't carry a paper business card, because if I don't get to know somebody well enough that they want to put my name and number in their phone, and they don't want to share their name, their phone number, their address with me, that I'm going to put it in my phone, I didn't make the right connection with that individual. That's where I've set myself in this belief. Okay, go ahead, guys.
Barry?
Well, real quickly, does anybody know what the score is, by the way, of the SC game?
Gonzaga
20.
lost. Yeah, Gonzaga won.
Okay, got it. Thank you for that update. So real quick, what I would have done differently, number one, I would have probably taken my schoolwork a little more seriously. That's a definite. I would have done that. Number two, if I could have afforded that, I would like to have probably spent a semester away. I think that is a phenomenal experience for young people to kind of get to know yourself, be in an environment that's different, not know everybody around you and have the comforts of your family and your friends. I would have done that, and I haven't had to do that. Some of you may have moved to Tucson to go to school, and you're living in Boston or wherever. You made that move, and that's good. Those are positive things to do, and I never did that. And the third thing I would do is I would have dated a lot more than hang on to one or two girls my entire college career. I would have dated. I would have gone out. I would have gone to more sorority parties, not just Gamma Phi or DG.
Hey, Barry,
That's what I
we're
would.
better at that today than we were. We kind of stuck with one or two girls through college. I think they meet a few more than we did.
Well, good. But hey, I married a Gamma Phi. We did not go out during college. And we just celebrated 32 years. So there you have it.
All right. Why don't you open it up for questions? Does anybody have questions?
Yeah, I got one. I'll go first.
You go first. Casey.
Actually, okay, great. Thanks. This might be a little bit more geared towards Barry, but Mike, Greg, jump in if you have any insight on this as well. I've been paying attention to the capital markets and investment team here at Colliers as well. And I'm just curious from your perspective on if you were in my shoes just starting to get into this industry, it's your first year, what would you be paying attention to? Like, I've been reading Phoenix Business Journal. I keep track of the treasuries. I try to, you know, see what's going on in the market as well, like keeping track of VISTA and sales comps. But what would you think is most vital to start paying attention to and reading if you were in our shoes?
That's a great question. The Wall Street Journal, you will learn a tremendous amount from. The Business Journal, Brew, you know, all those rags, if you will teach you a lot. But the thing that's going to teach you the most is meeting people and reaching out and calling me by the end of the week. No, I'm kidding. But call me and say, hey, I'd like to get together. You know, my name is Casey. I'm at Colliers. I'm learning the business, and I'd love to hear what you do and learn about how I might be able to advance myself in my career. Because as I said at the very beginning, and I think Greg touched on it, I think Mike did, I think Matt did as well in his own way, it's about mentoring and it's about globbing on, okay? When I lost my dad, I didn't have that father figure to go to. I did have my brother, but you know, he was 28 years old. I mean, he was having a blast and doing his thing, and you know, there was too much of an age gap. And so I use the word glob, but I would grab on to these older guys and I would just ask them all sorts of questions about life and about family and about how to save money and how to advance myself in my career. And I must tell you, I could have read every Wall Street Journal. I could have gone to every seminar. I could have gotten a bunch of designations, but what really helped me the most was all of the practical experience and the knowledge I gained from people of whom I respected. So for me, I would just get out there and meet as many people as you can, and they don't have to be at Colliers. They can be at Cushman and Wakefield, they could be at JLL, they could be at Lee and Associates, they could be at CBRE. To me, I love hearing people talk about what they do and how they did it. I love talking to people that have been married 50 years. I love it, you know. I ask, tell me how you were married 50 years. And there's great stories. So, you know, even at our age, I'm going to be 60 years old. I know I only look 40, but just kidding. I'm still asking people I'm still looking for mentors at my age. So I think Matt probably is, and Mike is, and Greg is too. I mean, that's just what you do when you want to get better. Surround yourself with better people.
You know, I'd like to follow up that just a little bit. So, and what we're doing here is an example of that. So a couple of years ago, started asking questions of graduating seniors and young alumni, what was missing from your fraternity experience? And the overwhelming theme was, we did everything, but we did not really formalize our career networking. We didn't take advantage of this opportunity to meet other alumni, meet other parents. And so that's kind of why we've started this process, is we can start doing career panels like what we're doing today. We can do one-on-one mentoring, and you know what? It might be with a Sigma Chi. You might meet a Fiji alum that works at one of these companies, and you'll build a relationship with him. But I think the key here is if you do it early on and get a mentor early on, it's really going to help you boost your career.
Yeah, I just add on to that. So, you know, we've been focused mostly on the brokerage side because that's what Barry and I and Greg do, but there's a lot of other aspects within the commercial real estate industry, whether there's developers who are developing industrial, office, multifamily. In a lot of those groups, you know, there's project development guys, there's deal guys that shepherd a project through the city and orchestrate construction with financing. and trying to find users and interact with brokers. There's a lot of different avenues. There's appraisers, there's guys doing mortgage lending, all centered around commercial real estate. It's not just brokerage. So, find out what's going on in those guys' world, because they're also, part of that fabric and part of that network. It's not just the brokerage companies. So, those organizations like ULI and NAIOP, it costs money to join those things, but they can be valuable, and you can use that as an opportunity. You go to a NAIOP event, and anybody that's in the office industrial world of commercial real estate is usually at that event, and you realize very quickly that it's a target rich environment. And don't be shy of going, hey, I've heard your name. I'd like to spend some time and buy you a cup of coffee, because most old guys like us were flattered that a young guy would want to reach out to us and pick our brain and hear our story. And there's kind of an ego boost on that. So I mean, I've told that to Cameron. I've told that to my other son, who, by the way, Trent, is a first-year law student at ASU, and don't be afraid to approach an older person and ask for their time, because they're usually honored that you do it, and you're not thinking about that. And I think for me, there's kind of this practical intelligence. So Casey, your question about information, what I can focus on, you never know how a bit of information is going to help you in a transaction, who's doing what, when, where, and how. And that data might be important to somebody. And it takes a while to figure out how you can monetize that information. But at the end of the day, as a broker, like Barry said, we don't control anything. So the only thing we can really offer is our information and our experience. That's it. And so, and people want to do business with people that they like and people they respect. So having those interpersonal relationships and skills that have some level of intelligence, you got to get out and meet as many people as you can.
Great.
Well, if you guys don't leave phone numbers, then definitely expect a follow up from me somehow. I'll definitely call you, Barry, this week. Mike, I know you're local, so I'll call you as well. And Greg, if you're in town, then let's get some coffee.
All
And
right.
you can call me next week too. I'm just kidding about this week.
Casey, where are you at? Are you in Phoenix?
Yeah, I'm just 24th and Camelback.
Yeah.
So are you in the developing leaders deal at NAIOP?
Yeah. It's been tough with the pandemic, but I've been on some of their online seminars, and the last event was at that Diamondbacks game last year, like in person. So since then it's been tough, but I've been doing the online classes. I've taken a couple of them, but and Zoom meetings too.
Good job. That's outstanding. Good for you.
You bet.
Any other questions, anybody? We went a little bit past, but people had questions, so I'll give you a couple of minutes if you got questions. Otherwise, we'll call it a day.
I guess I have a. Oh no, go ahead, Nick, please.
Oh, I was just gonna go off of. Sorry, there's post-negotiation training going on right now in the field, so I gotta move rooms. But I was just gonna ask if I can get any of you guys' phone numbers or emails as well, just to see if I could ask any other questions later in the week. Maybe just talk on the phone. You can post it in the chat.
I have everybody's contact information. Cameron, just send me a reminder, and then I'll send an updated directory with everybody's info.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was planning on that, as well as like posting the Zoom recording for everyone and everyone's contact information in our chat for like the entire chapter. So I can get those to you as well, to you, Matt.
Yeah. By the way, so Cameron, Becca, who actually was running for Sigma Chi Sweetheart.
Yeah, just one.
Huh?
Yeah, she was telling me a lot about how she's working with you guys for.
Yeah, she's one of my social media people. She's a Kappa for people that know. But Becca will coordinate with you, because she'll get the recording up onto your Sigma Chi YouTube channel, so we can post it.
Okay, sounds good.
And then I had a question. I know we're running late on time, and I would love to get all your input on it, but I'm going to direct it towards Barry because it's a CBRE more specific question. So tomorrow I got to the last round interview for the summer sales internship for the San Diego office for CBRE.
Awesome.
So I just kind of wanted to, thank you, ask you pretty much two things. first, you know, what can I kind of expect from, you know, the CBRE specific interview as a whole? I know I have 3 separate interviews in the morning, but also what can I do to, you know, set myself to stand out, essentially, not so much just, you know, be yourself and prepare, but more specific, impressive, you know, idea or, you know, questions or talking points that I could ask or bring up.
I'm going to give you my cell.
Okay.
Do you have a pen?
I do, sir. Yeah.
Right. Okay. 602-509-4412. And call me at 7:30 because I think the call will be over by then and I'll be driving home and I'll tell you everything you want to know.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet. Trent, were you going to say something?
Yeah, my question was more personal to me in that, so I said that I'm joining the military after I graduated from school, but then you guys were talking about different ways to be involved in real estate. So I was going to ask for your guys' advice, if there is any, to still be involved in commercial real estate or residential, to kind of do both simultaneously so I could stay connected to this market.
Well, Trent, I could tell you about my father. He graduated from Berkeley and then he was in the Navy, and he went to the Navy for a little while. And then he was an aerospace engineer. He helped design the lunar rover vehicle that drove around on the moon. But how did he get into real estate? That company, after that, he got fired. And he interviewed, he ended up with a railroad. And believe it or not, back when the railroads were laid out, the United States government gave the railroad every other section of land. Section is a nice big piece of land on either side of the railroad or their tracks. So railroads controlled a lot of land. He became the land guy for the railroad. And he was with a small railroad, Western Pacific. They got swallowed up by Union Pacific. He became eventually the president of Union Pacific's railroad's land holding company. Okay. Navy guy.
Wow.
Okay. And Navy guy, you know, started out, he was an aerospace engineer and he ends up a land guy. And Mike, he's a fellow with ULI. My dad, he's a fellow with ULI. But so with your military, you are learning more discipline and more direct initiative of goals than most people do. Okay. And you're going to have a step ahead. So it doesn't matter where you are, you're going to be recognized and moved up. Now it's up to you which direction you want to go as those opportunities arise. But you're going to see those opportunities arise. You will. So
was your question about, as you're committing to your 4 years, are you suggesting that during that time as well, that you would be wanting to be connected to, employed with, in a real estate capacity, or would you be able to do that on a full-time basis? Could you do it 20 hours a week? I mean, help us understand that.
Yeah, so I appreciate Greg's perspective, but I think, Barry, what you were saying, just not to be maybe officially employed, but to be of value to you know, still build up in a community and, I don't know, be able to make side revenue through real estate while being in the military.
Yeah, so that's a good question, because one thing that as brokers, you're kind of only as good as your next deal. Mm-hmm. And you're in the service business, so that if you're not working, you're not making money. So the difficult part for a lot of people in the brokerage business is, how do you create, you know, a revenue stream that's a little bit more reliable, that you don't actually have to be in the office to enjoy it. So one thing that I did, for what it's worth, is myself and a couple other guys, we developed an RV and boat storage business out in West Phoenix. And that was 15 years ago. And then we leveraged the equity in there to buy another 15 acres that we're in the process of coming out of the ground for another one out in West Phoenix. We also acquired a 3.5 acre parcel out in Scottsdale off the Frank Lloyd Wright and 101, Barry, right behind that Super Pumper and Dunn Edwards. So myself and Jim Wilson own that. And we're selling that. And then we ended up buying an industrial building a couple of months ago in South Phoenix. And so it's not my core business yet, but you're touching those things. Like one of my partners is looking at doing a small residential development. I should have him call Greg for some pointers, that he just wants to do kind of a for lease single family rental kind of model. And he's looking at buying a piece of land. So one of the things that you'll find is that there's a lot of people out there that have capital, individuals, high net worth individuals or others, that it's not their core business to go develop a small, let's just say a residential deal. But you'll find people that if they like the deal and they know you and trust you, that they'll invest with you. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity like that for somebody that's in the legal profession, that if you find a deal that you like, find out more about it, go to people that are experts in that, put together a business plan for it, and you'll find that people will invest in you. And we've had others that have approached us that want to invest with us because they know of our success. So it takes a while to get to that point, but you can do that. Real estate affords you that. There's a lot of people that buy single family residential and own a number of rental properties. My brother-in-law had 15 of them, and he was working out at Palo Verde nuclear plant full time. So it can be done. He's since sold them, but you can absolutely do that.
Great. Well, thanks everyone.
And I'm happy to answer any questions you have. If you want to call me, I'll shed more light on it. So we're always, as Barry said, we're available and happy to be a part of this, honored to do it. Matt, I appreciate you, kind of coordinating this, and anything we can do to help, we're happy to do it.
Yeah, so we'll roll out a whole series in the fall. Cameron and I will kind of work this summer to figure out our whole plan for the fall. And any of you guys that are undergraduates, the more you can chat it up to the other undergrads and let them know that there's value in it, do that.
I just want to add one last thing. If you ever have any doubt how fortunate each of us are to be a Sigma Chi, I will tell you that, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, and it'll be 41 years this September that I lost my dad. But I want to make a point, and that is that I was a pledge, and I was not active, and I obviously was going through a tough time, and so the Magister was just phenomenal, and he understood, and my pledge brothers were phenomenal, and I had gone home for my dad's service. And I remember this vividly. I was sitting down with my mom and my brother and my two sisters. The place was packed. My dad was really a popular guy, and people just loved him. And something caught my eye, and I looked over to my left, and a stream of guys in blue blazers came in. I'll never forget it. Ever.
That's what it's
We're
about.
lucky to be together, guys.
That's what it's about. Hey,
That's
Cameron.
it. My kids always say, "Dad, are you crying?" And it's like a commercial, and I'm like, "Yeah, I am." But I'm an emotional guy, but I want you to know how fortunate you are, and to have somebody like Matt that's coordinating all of this and in it to win it with you guys it's just unbelievable, Matt. So I applaud you for doing that.
I appreciate it. Hey, Cameron, so I'm going to be up in Phoenix seeing my mom for the first time in a year tomorrow. So I'm out tomorrow, but I'll be back in the office Thursday. So if you can just send an email, I'll coordinate with you and I'll put you in touch with Becca.
Okay. I actually have her personal phone number, an email. She's one of my good friends. So I can work.
Okay. So I'll send her the recording as soon as it finishes here.
Awesome. Yeah.
Great, guys. Hey, thanks for joining. Appreciate
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
Appreciate you taking the time.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye.